Let's start you off with a moment first. Beijing's Grand Parade. What slipped out on a hot mic between XiJinping and Vladimir Putin was about living to 150 years. A conversation they were both having about organ transplants, biotech, and even the idea of immortality. That one casual chat has touched on some of the oldest questions of humankind. How long can we live, and what kind of life would that life be if we got to live it? Now, science says that life expectancy has changed dramatically in just the last few years. In 1950, for example, if you just took a look at the world average, it was 46 years old. Today, that is over 73. Researchers that track aging not just by birthdays, they also use other things. What we're going to talk about today is something called cellular markers, telomeres that shorten with age, DNA methylation patterns that act as epigenetic clocks, mitochondrial decline that weakens energy. What all of this means, we will decode for you.
Some scientists insist 150 is possible with discipline, with a proper diet and proper sleep. Others argue the cap is closer to 120 currently. But science isn't the only lens. History, scripture have also had with the same obsession. In Mahabharata, for instance, King Yayati tried to borrow youth from his sons only to discover at the end of the road that endless desire leads to emptiness. Asuras performed penance for immortality. Ravana, for instance, demanded it as a boon, but the lesson was always clear. Our ancient texts have had it, whoever is born will one day die. The Puranas tell us humans in earlier yugas were taller, stronger, they live longer. Ayurveda offers its own take. Ayurveda talks about the legend of sage Chavan, gave us Chavanprash, a preparation to slow aging and preserve vitality.
And that actually touches on a very important point. The diet and lifestyle carry their own wisdom. Local food, seasonal eating, natural living. It has helped people with age, with less disease, with decay and preventing it. So the question we want to take a look at today is not just around long life. It's the idea of also living a full life. Legacy matters as much as longevity. What you leave behind may be more important than how you celebrate your birthdays. And if you just take a look at modern athletes, you have Novak Djokovic, for example, who was playing till 38. James Anderson bowling in Test cricket at 41. Brad Hogg playing till 44. These are all reminders that discipline and mindset can stretch performance years, but also that our athletes could be older than ever now with the help of newer technology and science.
So let's get back to the question we're really trying to ask. Take back the conversation to Xi Jinping and Putin's stray remark. Can humans really live to 150? And if we could, should we? Is the goal to just extend life or to make sure those extra years are healthy, they're purposeful and meaningful?
Okay, so to explore all of this, first up, to bring us the science around it all, we have Dr. Prasoon Chatterjee. He's one of India's leading geriatricians. Doctor, good morning. Thank you for joining us here on the show. And you've worked extensively on this idea of healthy aging, doctor. So we'll just come to you first and just ask you very basically to explain to us, when you study age in the human body, what are you looking for in the cell under the microscope, or when you're studying? What are the biomarkers per se?
So, as I understand, the discussion is on whether we can live up to 150 years or not. I think very interesting and thought-provoking ideas. But my first take would be yes. The answer is yes, it is possible. I will come to your question, but before that, you have to understand when our life expectancy in 1800, average life expectancy was 30 to 40 years. That time also, those who are religious practitioner and many people who used to practice a healthy lifestyle, including their diet, calorie restriction and a large amount of exercise. It was a compulsion to walk because that time we didn't have flight and all these things. So they could able to reach up to 100. So that is a fact. And similarly, today also I see a lot of, I have at least 10 plus 100 plus people who are coming to me, and they reach 100 by chance, not by preparation. So definitely with preparation we can reach that. Regarding your question, there are around, globally studies has shown there are around 12 hallmarks of aging. We call it as hallmark. That is the process which is making you old. That ranges from your DNA instability. Most of us know about DNA, the coil inside our cell. Then there is telomere shortening, what you mentioned just now, which is the cap in the DNA. Then there are mitochondrial dysfunction, we call as powerhouse of cell. Similarly, there are intracellular communication. I'll not go in that detail, but yes, there are changes. But few important changes with aging. What happen is, what we see is the old cell which is not dying, which is not cleaning, just like our garbage of our house. They are the most dangerous. We call it as senescent cell, and they sit in the corner of the house called cell and releases toxin, and which manifest as frailty, dementia, Parkinsonism. Most of the disease, age-related disease, nowadays the scientist has found out most of the disease are related to all these hallmark, including your gut microbiome. So I am conducting a study, started from AIMS. Initially I was in AIMS, now I'm in Artemis, where we are seeing all these 12 hallmark, first from India, where I am following 0 to 100 years, from cord blood to 100 years blood, along with lot of clinical variable, around 500 variable we are looking at. And surprisingly, I am seeing someone who has reached 100, his gut microbiome is as good as who's got 20's gut microbiome. In my cohort, there are some 20 plus people also. So this is very, very interesting. Someone who reach up to 100, they could able to maintain their cell as young as 20. So, and that happened, as I told you, that happened without any preparation. They are mostly, they have seen the partisan, they have seen a lot of riots, they have starved because food was not that plenty, that time. And most of they are from family of farmer family. And in India, we talk about blue zone globally. In India, most of the centenarian are from tribal population. So you understand how they are close to the nature. And so you are more close to nature. You sleep a lot, you eat healthy, you don't torture your body with lot of stress, which is unnecessary stress. Little stress is healthy, but more stress is a problem.
Okay.
So Japan, for instance, now it's crossed 100,000 in number. So they have 100,000 people right now currently who are aged 100 years and above, and that's remarkable in itself. That's being seen as a model, Dr. Chatterjee. Tell us overall, what's the current scientific consensus on maximum human lifespan? We're talking about 150. A lot of people have passed off this commentary between Xi Jinping and Putin as simple banter, two world leaders not willing to accept that, they're going to have to let go of their hot seats as yet. But there are those who've looked at it with another lens, and that's why we're having this conversation. Do you think it's 120, 150, and where does India stand?
See, there is no magic number. I cannot categorically tell you. Many scientists are claiming that. But if you see that I joined AIMS in 2010, then I used to get let's say hardly 10 out of 100 patients who are 80 plus, right? But now 80 plus globally is the fastest growing population. And again, I'm repeating, they have not reached 80 by preparation, they have reached by chance. So why not someone who is, and most of the studies have shown, even if you have a chance, if you are in your 40s, to rectify your small changes in your lifestyle, which can do miracle. And just like SIP in financial sector, you can invest in your health through religiously working, having less food, having good sleep, controlling your stress as much you can, and know the science. Don't go by the infodemics. I'm sorry to say, many YouTubers are propagating a lot of message which are not at all scientific. Like they listen to somebody and they just propagate because they have some viewers. So we have to be careful on that. And yes, I will not comment about 120, 150, 120, nearing 120. Many people are reaching there. You may not trust them because Aadhaar card was not that time very, Aadhaar card or voter ID. We don't know. So many people come to me and say, Dr. Saab, इनका तो उम्र 100 क्रॉस हो गया, but Aadhaar card में 92 है. Then I am following them for 10 years. So they have already reached 110. So again, but they didn't have that great, so-called great medical science. But yes, now we are much more, I will say, knowledgeable. We understand the hallmark. Now I prescribe my patient diet not as per his food, but as per his or her stool metagenomics. So we can go that level. These are all science. It is possible to reach 150. So I fully endorse. I'm a totally apolitical person, but I fully endorse. Yes, that ambition is practical. Okay. Unlike Mahabharata time when there was I will not vouch for immortality, but yes, 150 is possible, and healthy living is possible. What we call as health span, not the lifespan alone.
Doctor, I want to ask you a bit of a controversial question now. I'm aware it's a controversial question and a naughty question by some standards, but I do want to ask you, there are some in the audience who will make one argument that they know so many people who live so healthily but still in their 50s and 60s get different kinds of cancers despite not drinking and despite not smoking. On the other side, we see examples of people who smoke. Famous photos of grandmothers sitting around in Greece, for example, and saying, look, we smoked into our 80s, 90s, live your life, enjoy your life. Now, in no way are we advocating either of those things on this show this morning, but I do want to understand what your perspective is on the big smoking, the big drinking question.
So first question is very, very genuine and which is happening nowadays, you understand. But for those who are in 40s or 50s having sudden massive cardiac arrest or a cancer, you have to, if we deep dive, we'll definitely get, you have to understand one thing, 30% is your gene. So someone's whose parents have lived up to 90 or 100 by chance, I'm telling by chance because medical science has not held that time, but they have a high chance to cross 100 even if they are drinking, smoking little bit. I'm not vouching here for drinking, smoking, but they have. So I tell my patient that people used to say my parents has given me a lot of financial security. But whether you are blessed with the great gene of your parents, that is most important nowadays. Yes. So that is one group. So they have some amount of buffer to torture their body. I can say it's a very bad term, but yes, they are the social media hero now. But unlike them who are dying early, I'm sure most of them have not done. You may say they go for annual health checkup, but you have to understand one thing: annual health checkup is a very, very cross-sectional assessment. So you have some plaque in the heart, coronary angio will pick that. If you don't have, if you have something which is happening, a chronic low-grade inflammation in your cell, your mitochondria is getting exhausted, your telomere is progressively shortening much faster. Are you aware that people check their telomere routinely? I'm sure the answer is no. Yeah. So are you aware that how their gut microbiome is doing? But again, having said so, human body is the most complex in the universe. So it may happen that few of them are nowadays we are starting in Artemis Hospital, we are starting very soon biological aging. That means your cellular aging, which may be absolutely different than your calendar aging. So someone you must have heard during COVID crisis, someone was walking in the cycle and had a massive cardiac event because maybe he had already a venous thrombosis in his leg, a clot in the vein of the leg, and that has been dislodged when you are doing rigorous exercise, and it went and it blocked the pulmonary artery, causes pulmonary and cardiac event. So there must be something which has not been diagnosed. To be very honest, after spending two decades with healthy people, because I consider myself, my mental age is like 80 plus now, seeing so many 80 plus, it's very, very unlikely that you have no risk factor. Again, if you see cancer in 40s means there must be a pedigree analysis which will show their parents, their grandparents, their aunt, uncle family must be having some form of cancer.
Okay, doctor, I also then want to ask you, you spoke of how there's modern science now, there's so many other parameters that must be weighed in on. You listed out some of those parameters for us. Can I then ask you the Brian Johnson question? Because there are those pioneering in longevity, their models are being spoken of. The fact that they're wearing these helmets, they're talking about plasma transfusion, so many other mechanisms in place, it's quite intimidating, at least the sound of all of this. So for anyone who's tracking the journey of Brian Johnson, for instance, what would you say, where do you stand on this, and what is the correct way of looking at longevity and ensuring that you're doing the right thing for your body and mind at the right age?
See, I will go back to again the story of our Vedic age. You follow them when they survive more than 100 years without any medical help. So their pathway was right. And now there are, if you ask me, n number of studies shows that if you restrict your calorie, you are better. There are n number of studies shows if you have 7 to 8 hours sleep every day, you are better. if you exercise daily, and again, this is like a compounding, we called SIP as eighth wonder. I say health investment plan is must be the best wonder in the world. You never know. I have not seen a 80 plus person who is not walking daily in the park or in the village for last 20 years. So there is no magic here. I don't fully endorse, of course, a lot of.
So you're saying there are certain common habits, common
Yes,
traits associated with everyone in 80s, 90s who's very healthy and very active?
Yes.
What
yes.
are these
And
traits?
that is only I'm mentioning. They have a healthy diet. They are pure vegetarian. They didn't have the taste of McD or Pizza Hut, so they still don't like that. They don't drink Pepsi. So their food is like that. They walk every day because they are mostly from farmer family. They have seen the hard way of life. Then they sleep well.
Doctor, have to ask you, sorry, you said vegetarian right now, but non-vegetarian and in particular protein, and I'm talking about a healthy non-vegetarian, someone who is making sure they're getting their protein through different means, one would assume that would give you a longer life, no?
Again, science has shown veg food has also a lot of protein, right?
Right.
But non-veg food contains more protein, more quality protein, so-called quality protein. But all quality things may not be healthy for your cell. So there are few amino acid which is there in most of the non-veg protein is bad for your body, especially your cell, which causes more inflammation in your body. One of the mechanism of aging is subtle chronic low-grade inflammation. But I must respond to the Brian Johnson question. Most of the celebrity like him, what they are doing has not been created that much evidence.
Yeah.
You have to understand most of the biologists who are
he's in fact gone back on some certain medicines, anti-aging medicines that he was taking because it didn't succeed.
Yes. That was rapamycin. Yes, rapamycin is a good drug, no doubt. But again, in medical science, we do randomized control trial in millions of population in multiple center globally. What
Doctor,
works for you may not work for me.
Doctor, we are unfortunately running out of time. If we could just quickly ask you, it's not a long question, what % of our age is determined by our genetics and what % by the way we treat ourselves? If you had to give us a rough number.
But 30-70. 30% is your gene and 70% your lifestyle. But again, I will stress here, don't go by celebrity recommended medication. None of the anti-aging medication has been recommended unless we are going through not rigorous process. And what works in mice, monkey may not works for you. So please don't go for that trap. And there is no magic wine here that I will take Ozempic for a few months, few years, and I will lose weight and then I'll enjoy my life. No, there will be rebound weight gain and that will be massive for you.
Okay, so there's no quick fix to looking healthier, feeling healthier and living a longer life. Thank you so much, Dr. Chatterjee. Thank you for really simplifying this entire story for us. Since you spoke of the historical context here, let's go across to our second guest joining us this morning, Ami Ganatra, author and commentator who brings the perspective of our scriptures and philosophies with us. Good morning, Ami. Hope you're doing well. Let's touch upon, what history has for us in place. Tell us a little bit about some of these references to human longevity that we find in ancient texts, Vedas, Puranas, and what does that story essentially lay out for us, since we're talking about this headline-making conversation between Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin.
So, good morning. Suprabhatam to all of you. Thank you for having me for this very interesting and exciting topic. I think forever, human mind or human being has wanted to become immortal and has wanted to increase their lifespan. It has happened forever. And you see these stories come again and again and again in our scriptures. One very famous one is of Yayati. So Yayati is a king and he has 5 children. And he wants to enjoy his life. He wants to enjoy his youth because it's in your youth when you really enjoy the pleasures of life. So once he starts getting old, he reaches out to his sons and he says, why don't you exchange your youth with me? And if you exchange your youth with me, I will give you some vardhan, I'll give you some blessings. So 4 of his sons refuse because they're like, no, why should we trade our youth with you? This is a time of action, this is a time of pleasure. Eventually, one of his sons, Puru, he trades his youth. So another lots of years, Yayati enjoys his youth and enjoys all the pleasures of life and everything, only to realize what Upanishads always say, that there is no end to desire. There is no end to pleasure seeking. We say, Trishna na jirna vayave vijena. There is no end. The desire never reduces. We get reduced and we die, but the desire doesn't reduce. So eventually he says, okay, I've realized the truth of life, that at some point you have to let go and accept things that come your way, the reality of life that comes your way. So then he says, okay, now I'm happy, and he lets go of that youth and lets his son enjoy and become the king and all that. So this is one of those stories, but there are so many like these.
I also want to ask you, Ami, it feels like growing up, we've heard of all of these different examples of sages in Mahabharata, in Ramayana, who were living till 150, 150 plus.
Fighting wars at 80, 90.
And being very strong while doing so. What has your research found about these figures? Tell us a little bit more about that.
If you've observed, whenever we wish somebody a happy birthday, in Sanskrit you will say Shatayu Bhava or Jivet Sharadha Shatam. So they'll say live 100 years or enjoy 100 autumns. So what does it mean? That in general, the concept of a full life in the Shastras is about 100 years. So 100 years, so hey, that much we anyways consider. That's a full life. And yes, we have seen sages who've lived a lot more than that. We don't exactly know how long they lived, but by and large, we definitely know that Bhishma had a very long life. We had Vedvyasji had a very long life, right? One of the reasons that could have, now this is an assumption based on the yoga research that I have done. We have a concept called as pranayama, okay, which is extension of your breath. And it is believed that every person is born with a finite number of breaths. Now this I'm talking philosophically, as what yoga would say, that everybody is born with a finite number of breaths. So one breath is inhalation and exhalation. Now, if you can manage to extend the inhalation and exhalation, obviously you will live longer. 100 inhalations, exhalations. Either you can finish one inhalation per second, so 100 seconds. Or you can do 10 minutes per inhalation, exhalation. And you increase your lifespan. So this is one of the ways which they say that if you can manage to hold your breath longer, there is a concept called kumbhak. Even today, when you learn yoga in depth, they teach you kumbhak. Of course, we don't have the capacity to hold it for that long. But clearly the rishis were yogis at the end of the day. All of them were yogis. All of them practiced some sort of dhyan, pranayam. And that could have definitely helped. Along with everything else that the doctor previously was saying, right? The food you eat, the lifestyle you live. They all had a very, very physically active lifestyle. It wasn't like us, ki chalo, we are typing on the computer and doing our work. No, they had a very, very physically active lifestyle. The environment was cleaner. The food they ate was not hormone infused, right? So a lot of these things definitely impacted along with the practice of pranayama. So it's one of the, if you see the Shastras, pranayama is one of those tactics or one of those techniques which we have seen yogis perform all the time. So that's one of
Ami, it's very interesting, Ami, because Dr. Chatterjee was saying exactly this, but he brought in the aspect of modern science. You're taking us back in time, you're telling us that history's also had similar instructions for everyone. It's all about how closely you're following it. Talking about this historical context, let's go back to a few years, thousands of years, Ayurveda. That has found a mention in classical Indian literature. Tell us what Ayurveda tells us about longevity, about a healthy lifestyle, because that's been cited by several authors through the years while this discussion keeps coming up.
So let me connect it to one of the Puranic stories we have, and it connects back to Ayurveda. So there is this rishi called Chyavan Rishi, and he's done a lot of penance, tapasya all his life. So he's become very old and frail and all of that. By some stroke of luck, he ends up getting this very, very beautiful young lady as his wife. Her name is Sukanya. Now, obviously, Sukanya wants a young husband, and even Chyavan wants to enjoy his life very well. So he does tapasya, we are told, of Ashwin, the Ashwins. So Ashwins are called the doctors of the Devatas. They are twin Devatas. They are called the doctors of the Devatas. And especially in the Vedas, whenever anybody has any health issue, the Ashwins will come and help them. So you're told to appease the Ashwins. So Chyavan Rishi appeases the Ashwins, and they come up with a procedure and a recipe through which Chyavan regains his youth. It's like anti-aging, as anti-aging as it can be. And that is called Chyavan Prasha. So we have Chyavan, even today you see Chyavan Prash is sold everywhere. So this recipe of Chyavan Prash also comes from Ayurveda. And it, of course, it talks about immunity. I mean, if you are healthy, you will stay longer. It's common sense, right? So one of the things which Chyavan Prash, even in the recipe we have today, what it does is essentially improves your immunity. So if you're stronger internally, you will obviously be healthy and grow strong, live longer. So that is Chyavan Prash, which we have till today. So how things connect, right? This idea of longevity and anti-aging has been there forever because this is a human mind. If I can, there is this beautiful question answer in Mahabharata. It's called a Yaksha Prashna. And in that, there is a Yaksha who's testing Yudhishthir, how smart he is and all of that. So one question is asked by Yaksha that, Kim Ashcharyam? What is the most surprising or shocking, whatever way you want to take it? Like, what is it that amazes? So Yudhishthir says, Ahani ahani cha bhutani gachanti yamalayam sheshaha sthavaram icchanti kim ashcharyam atha punam. So he basically says, every day, every single day people die, every single day. And even then, the people who stay back or who are left on planet Earth, they think they are going to live forever. And they think they will always survive. And that is how they live their lives, running after desires, chasing after dreams, non-stop. So he's saying, what can be more Ashcharyajanak than this? So it's going on till now.
Ami, it's been wonderful having you with us on the show. Thank you for showing us just how some of these concepts have been with us already for centuries. Thank you for joining us here on the show.